The Coach Curl podcast is brought to you by Think and Grow Business, the home of the Think and Grow Business Mastermind. If you're serious about growing your business, get serious and join a mastermind group today. Find out more at thinkandgrowbusiness.com.au.
Hey there, it's Coach Curl here, and welcome to episode 196 of today's Leader, the Coach Curl podcast. Today I have the absolute pleasure to feature Ryan Gottfredson. Now, Ryan is a best-selling author of the book Success Mindsets, the key to unlocking greater success in your life, work, and leadership. Ryan's been featured in the Wall Street Journal and on USA Today. He's a mental success coach, a cutting-edge leadership consultant, author, trainer, and researcher. Now, Ryan is currently a leadership and management professor at the Maheo College of Business and Economics at California State University. He holds a PhD in organizational behavior and human resources from Indiana University and a BA from Brigham Young University. Ryan knows what he's talking about. So Ryan shares some of his strategies around success mindsets, and the conversation brings awareness and provokes thoughts. And hopefully, when things provoke thought, they bring action. It's my pleasure to bring you Ryan Gottfredson.
Way to go, guys. Way to go. Keep it going. Good job, guys. All right, Paul, I see you. All right, fellas. Finish us. Coach Cole.
Good job, guys. Coach Cole, we love you.
Welcome to today's Leader. I've got Ryan Gottfredson. How are you, Ryan?
I'm doing really good. Thank you so much for having me on.
Excellent. And good afternoon, I should have said. It's good morning here in Australia, good afternoon where you are. So tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, and let me even just kind of tell my journey and how I landed where I have. So I did my PhD in organizational behavior and human resources at Indiana University. And I did my dissertation on leadership. And I'm currently a leadership professor at Cal State Fullerton. But when I did my dissertation on leadership, what I learned is that over the last 70 years, the primary focus of leadership research has primarily been on what do leaders need to do to be successful. And so the primary focus has been on leadership behaviors. And I don't think that that's bad. But to me, it came across a little bit short-sighted because I don't know about you, but I think that leadership is so much more than doing the right things.
Yeah.
It's about being a certain type of person, being somebody that other people want to follow. And so since then, so for the last 6-7 years, I've been focused on how do we tap into this being element of leadership, and everything's led me to mindsets because mindsets are the lenses we use to view the world, and how we view the world shapes who we are.
Yeah.
And so that's how I landed on mindsets.
Wow. Our thoughts drive our actions. Our thoughts drive our behaviors. And if we can get that shift in our mindset, in our thought process, it helps create better leaders.
Yeah. In fact, Tony, I'm just gonna dive a little bit deeper than what you said. I pick up on this type of stuff where most normal people don't.
Yeah.
So our mindsets, there are mental lenses, and what they do is our mindsets play two jobs.
Yeah.
So when we encounter a situation, our senses are sending way more information to our brain than what we can process. So the first job of our mindsets is to filter down this information.
Yeah.
The information our mindsets deem most important. Then our second job is that it interprets that information in unique ways.
Yeah.
So, for example, do we see failure as a bad thing and run away from it? Or do you see failure as being a good thing and something that we can learn and grow from and approach it?
Yeah.
Right? So that's the difference between a fixed and a growth mindset. And so it's our mindsets that take in specific information, interpret it in unique ways, and based upon how we interpret this information, the first thing that it dictates is it shapes how we think.
Okay.
Then our mindset shapes how we behave, and then our behavior shapes our success. So that's if we've got a pyramid, And at the top is success. The next layer down is behaviors. And that's where 90% of people focus on in personal development.
Yeah.
9% focus on the next layer down, which is our thinking. And it's only 1%, in my opinion, that are focusing on mindsets, which are foundational to it all.
I find it interesting you call it mindsets. You've got the plural in there, whereas most people talk fundamentally about a single concept of mindset. Tell me a little bit more about the plural aspect of mindsets.
Yeah, thanks for asking. So when I first started in my research to come across research study on mindsets, my initial question, because I was learning that our mindset shapes how we think, how we learn, and how we behave. So my question was, well, if that's the case, what mindsets do I need to have? And the first thing I did probably as any good academic would do, is the first sources I went to Google. I literally typed into Google, what mindsets do I need to have to be successful? And I would say 98% of the hits that came up actually didn't even focus on mindsets. They focused on behaviors. And so from that experience, I learned, okay, I've got to go to the academic research and see what has been studied when it comes to mindsets and what mindsets do we need to have. And I opened up the floodgates and I found that mindsets have been studied in psychology, in education, in management, and in marketing.
Yeah.
And in each of these disciplines, they've identified their own kind of pet mindsets that they've demonstrated over 30 plus years to drive our thinking, our learning, and our behavior. And something that's unique about each of these disciplines and each of these sets of mindsets is they were identifying mindsets on a continuum from negative to positive. Okay. And so what I've done with my work to try to help make mindsets less fluffy and more tangible is I pulled these 4 sets of mindsets into one framework. And so we've got 4 sets of mindsets that range on a continuum from negative to positive. And this allows us to identify where our mindsets might be along this continuum. And the more we can get to the positive side, the more effectively we're going to think, the more effectively we're going to behave.
Wow. So does one person predominantly have a mindset focused towards one end of the spectrum? Or is that what you've seen in some of the work that you've done? Or could they have an incredibly optimistic mindset when it comes to their sporting prowess and an incredibly negative one based around, say, something like a professional public speaking journey or something?
I'm so glad you asked. So I've developed a mindset assessment. It's free. Anybody could take it, and it's on my website at ryangottfredson.com. And it's, I think it'll blow your mind because you'll awaken to mindsets that you've never even been conscious of before. But what I found is, so I've had about 10,000 people take this mindset assessment. And I thought, almost to your point, is I thought that these would be correlated. So on the positive side of these 4 sets are growth, open, promotion, and outward mindsets. And I thought they would be correlated. So if you're high on growth, you're going to be high on the others. Turns out there's very small correlations between these different mindsets.
Wow.
And only 5% of the people that have taken the assessment are in the top quartile for all 4 of these mindsets. Okay. So what that means is most of us have some mindset work to do, and our mindset profile is going to be quite unique. So I could have a really strong growth mindset, but I could also have a really strong closed mindset. Okay. And so that's the power of breaking out mindsets into multiple different sets, is because it allows us to take a more comprehensive and deeper dive within ourselves.
It's certainly a lot deeper than just advising someone to change their thinking or to think positive, isn't it? So how do you work with someone who's potentially showing that closed mindset and the growth mindset? What are the steps that you take with that person?
Well, and that's such a great question, because what we've got to do is we've got to give them a reason to even want to transform. Yeah. So I've got a 4-question exercise that I use with people. And so maybe I'll walk you through that. Is that okay?
Please do.
So it's pretty quick, but the first question is identify a goal that you have, an outcome that you want to accomplish that you're just not there yet. And it needs to be a goal that you're excited about, but also something that you have control over.
Yeah.
And I'll use my daughter as an example. So my daughter, she's now 8 years old, but a couple of years ago, she came to me and her goal was to learn how to ice skate. So that was her goal. So we would write down that goal. Question number 2 then is, what are you doing or not doing that's preventing you from accomplishing that goal?
Yeah.
And so when I took my daughter ice skating for the first time, she stepped onto the ice rink, and this is scary for her. She's wearing ice skates that she's never worn before. She's on this sheet of slippery ice, which she'd never been on before. And for the next hour and a half, she just hugged the wall of the ice skating rink and kind of shuffled her way around. And we probably only got around the ice rink twice in that hour and a half. And so if I ask her the question, what are you doing or not doing that's preventing you from reaching your goal? She would answer, well, I'm hugging the walls and I'm not taking risks.
Yeah.
And so now what we're doing is we're getting ownership in the sense of they are the person that's preventing them from the success that they're seeking.
Yep.
And most personal development efforts stop here, because what they'll simply say is, well, stop hugging the walls and start taking risks.
Yeah.
But if it was that easy, then people like me would be out of a job.
Yeah.
Change we got to dig deeper within us. And so the next question is, why are you doing or not doing those things? So if I were to ask my daughter that, she would say, well, I'm afraid of falling and I'm committed to ensuring my safety.
Yeah.
And so what we do at this third level, and the third question is, we're identifying fears and their associated commitments that are causing us to behave in the very ways that are preventing us from reaching our goals.
Yeah.
And then the last question then is once we identify these fears and commitments, what mindset is underlying these fears and commitments? And in this case with my daughter, she has what's called a prevention mindset.
Yep.
Where she's more focused on avoiding losing than she is on winning.
Okay.
And so when you're afraid of losing, then you're afraid of problems.
Yep.
And you're focused on ensuring safety as opposed to taking risks.
Yep.
But if we could get her to shift from a prevention mindset to a promotion mindset, then that'll help her blast through her fears and commitments that are driving her self-sabotaging behaviors. And so if I've got a leader in front of me, this is the process I walk them through, because they've got a goal.
Yep.
And they've got that one foot on the accelerator, but what they don't realize is simultaneously they've got one foot on the brake.
Yeah.
And what we need to do is we need to awaken them to that foot that's on the brake. And if we could just get them to take the foot off the brake, then with their foot already on the accelerator, they'll blast off into whatever success that they're seeking.
That's a great analogy. That's a really cool way to think about it. Foot on the brake and the foot on the accelerator, because you see that so often. People desire success, but the thing that's holding them back is that foot on the brake. So, and that's usually an internal thing. So that was really eye-opening. So tell me about failure, because, many people tell us we should embrace failure. Now, I've yet to meet anyone that says, I love failing. It's, that concept of embracing failure, I really struggle with. Personally, I ask people to have a productive relationship with failure. We understand that we're going to fail at sometimes, and what are we going to do with that sort of a failure? So tell me about the concepts of failure that you work with, and how do you work with people to deal with, and, clients, companies, to deal with that sort of concept around failing or losing at times?
Yeah, great question. So I'm going to give you 4 different desires, Tony, and you tell me if society says that these are good desires to have.
Yep.
Okay. So there's the desire to look good, the desire to be right, the desire to avoid problems, and the desire to get ahead.
I reckon society would say that all of them are good things.
Right? So this is the pressure that we face. We face the pressure to look good, be right, avoid problems, and get ahead. And this is justifiable because who wants to look bad, be wrong, have problems, and get passed up?
Yeah.
Nobody.
Yeah.
But the problem with these desires is when we have these desires of looking good, being right, avoiding problems, and getting ahead, where's our focus? The focus is on ourselves.
Yeah.
And if we're a leader and we're focused on ourselves, what are we not focused on? Everybody else and the organization, right?
Yeah.
So this is where leaders, they feel very justified in having these desires, but these desires handicap them towards the positive impact that they can have. And I think it's not because they're bad leaders or they want bad things. It's because I think most of the time they don't understand that there's better desires to have that aren't socially incentivized. Yeah. So, for example, instead of a desire to look good, we should have a desire to learn and grow. So when we have a desire to learn and grow, what that means is that at times we're going to have to be willing to fail and look bad.
Yep.
Because that's the only way or the best way to learn and grow is actually through failure.
Yeah.
So we have to, not that we're running towards failure, we just have to be okay with failure. Instead of wanting to be right, we should want to find truth and think optimally, which means at times we're going to have to admit that we have been wrong, which is not something we're socially incentivized to do.
Incredibly challenging for a lot of people, I know.
So hopefully if we can just awaken people from shifting from these negative desires, although justified, they're negative desires, to the more positive desires of looking good, learning and growing, thinking optimally and finding truth, reaching goals and lifting others. Yeah. Then we're setting ourselves up to have, these are associated with the 4 positive mindsets of growth, open, promotion, and outward mindsets. And as we make shifts from the negative desires and mindsets, which is self-protection mode, we shift over to what I call organization advance mode. Yeah. And that's truly where we have a positive impact on the world around us and not on this short-term self-centered focus on our own success.
That's really interesting because and so absolutely valid and true because my background's in corporate retail and many times the whole concept of being a leader in an organization like that is what they would call the organizational or the leaderboard. I still get shivers down my spine when I mention the word leaderboard, but the whole concept was as long as you weren't on the bottom, you were going okay because it was somebody else's problem. And that was that ability to create that fly under the radar mindset. I don't know if that's part of the continuum, but I'm sort of adding it in there that people fly under the radar so not to poke their head up and have it knocked off but if you're on the bottom, you're in some trouble. You had some explaining to do. But if you weren't on the bottom, you were doing okay. So that really is a limiting growth factor, I would imagine, for a lot of organizations.
Oh, yeah. So that's what you call a prevention mindset. We're more focused on avoiding problems or not losing than we are on winning. Yeah. Which, when we're there, it essentially incentivizes mediocre performance. Yeah. Let me give you what I think is a great example of an organization that has made a transformation around mindsets in this way. And that example is Microsoft. So Microsoft was stagnant. Their market cap and their stock price stayed the same from 2001 to 2014. And then in 2014, Satya Nadella took over as CEO of Microsoft. And he said that the C in CEO stands for curator of culture. So his number one priority in changing around Microsoft was a focus on culture. And just to kind of fast forward, Microsoft's market cap and stock price since Satya Nadella took over has quadrupled. Wow. Like they were dead in the water in 2014. Now they're one of the 4 most valuable companies in the world. Yeah. And what Satya Nadella focused on was mindsets, because what he learned is that people within Microsoft, they felt like they needed to be know-it-alls. Like they needed to have all the answers. And he came in and said, no, we don't need to be know-it-alls. we need to become learn-it-alls, right? Whatever we know now is not going to help us in the future. We've got to be good not at knowing things, but on learning things. Yeah. And as they made that transition, that's what's led to their growth. And it's all started with a focus on mindsets.
So curiosity is such an amazing trait to have within leaders, and that focus on people is something that a leader has to have. It can't be about a leader. It can't be about them. It's got to be about your people. So for a leader to succeed, they've got to be curious. They've got to be vulnerable, because they've got to admit that they don't know it all. And they've got to have that real focus around their people and being curious to understand more. And I think when leaders start to do that, we start to see some real benefits happening right throughout, don't we?
Yeah, I'm reading, in fact, it's right next to me. I've got the book that I'm reading right now is called The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek.
Yeah.
And there's a line in there that I love, and he says, leaders are not responsible for results. Yeah. Leaders are responsible for the people who are responsible for the results.
Yeah, that's so true.
So often as leaders, we just feel pressured to focus on the results, but really where we need to focus is on the people who then will bring about the results.
Yeah. And I personally, I've seen quite a lot written and said about that particular book, and Simon's spoken about it quite often as well. So that concept of short-termism and short-term results and 3-monthly reporting cycles. And then you see the game, the companies that are winning, and they're playing the infinite game. They don't care about their result. Well, they care about their results over the next 3 months, but they're going to be winning in 40 years, not necessarily winning in the June quarter. So it's a fascinating insight, that particular book. So absolutely.
Well, I think, if I were to summarize our conversation up into this point, I think one of the key points that both of us are making is what we focus on matters. Yeah. And it matters a lot. It's everything. Yeah. And so what we need to do is we need to develop the capacity to look at what we typically look through. Yeah. Right. So we need the ability to step outside of ourselves and investigate what is it that we truly focus on. Because when we do that, what we're doing is we're investigating our mindsets. We're investigating our mental lenses that are shaping how we see the world. Do we see the world in this finite-minded way, and are we focused on winning in the short term? Or do we have this infinite mindset where we're focused on not winning, but on surviving and thriving forever in perpetuity? And so depending on what our focus is, that's going to shape all of the decisions that we make.
Speaking about focus, now obviously the world's gone through this COVID crisis, and hopefully there's some glimmers of light on the horizon that we're all starting to move towards, but it's going to be a long haul in terms of the economic recovery. I do a lot of work with small to medium-sized businesses. They're very much focused on the pain they feel today as opposed to the potential for the future in good times, let alone what they're going through now. So from your perspective, what are some of the strategies that a small to medium business owner can put in place to keep them focused and keep them moving forward, even though they're surrounded and personally maybe feeling some pain?
Yeah, great question. I think one of the things that we need to realize is with any crisis, now we're all facing this global COVID-19 collapse, but even if it's any crisis, what a crisis does is it incentivizes us to be like a turtle that pulls our head and our legs into our shell, just to self-protect, to wear out the storm, because that's just our natural reaction. We want to turn inward. Well, that may have benefits for us in the short run, for us personally, but that's not going to have any benefits for us in the long run, and it's not going to have any benefits for our customers or our community in the short or the long run. And so what we've got to be willing to do, and we've got to be really intentional about this, is when a crisis occurs, rather than pull inward, we've actually got to keep our necks out. And this doesn't come naturally for us, so we've got to be intentional about it. But if we can do that, and it may come at a cost to us in the short term, it allows us the opportunity to benefit our customers, to benefit our community, and to benefit everybody in the long run. So let me give you an example of this. So we've got right down the street from me, I've got 2 pizza places on opposite sides of the intersection.
Yeah.
And during this crisis, one of these pizza places has essentially been dark. They've just kind of been non-existent. To me, they're this turtle that's just kind of have pulled into their shell and they're waiting out the storm. The other pizza place, they've kept their neck out. So they've been very vocal in the community. They ran this promotion early on into the shutdown where if you could buy a take to home pizza kit, so you could have this meaningful experience creating pizzas with your family. And then they would throw in a free roll of toilet paper, which you couldn't buy at the stores at the time, right? So what they're doing is actually in the short term, their expenses are probably higher. Like this is difficult for them to do. It's probably even a negative thing for them in the short run. But what they're doing is they're benefiting their customers, they're benefiting the community, they're creating long-lasting relationships. And so when we get out of this, they've got customers for life. So by sacrificing keeping their neck out in the short term, they're creating the opportunity for long-term success for themselves, for their customers, and for the community.
That's a great analogy. And over here in Australia, we had our political leaders talking about the economy going into hibernation. And to me, it was just a horrible word to put out there that we're just going to go to sleep and wake up and everything's going to be hunky-dory. Well, I talked about things like reset, just to keep people thinking about the business because, I'm a John Maxwell leadership coach and John was talking about everything's exaggerated in a crisis. So if you've got a bad business model, that's exaggerated in a crisis. So no amount of hibernation is going to fix that. So very interesting. That's a really like the analogy of the tortoise. I like that. So have you ever visited Australia, Ryan?
I haven't. I need to get over there.
Yeah, it's a pretty amazing place, and let's hope that they've got some international travel happening over the coming years because I personally run marathons and I was booked in to do the Chicago one. So the hopes are getting slimmer and slimmer that it's going to be doing it. So, but anyway.
Yeah, they just canceled the Boston Marathon, which is too bad.
Yeah, that was the one I thought, Chicago will be next, unfortunately. So what have you most missed personally during the lockdown and the COVID collapse? I like that, COVID collapse.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, so I've tried to take as positive a mindset as I can towards the situation. And instead of seeing the sky is falling, I'm asking myself what opportunities are available to me. And there's been some really unique opportunities that have been made available. I mean, my time demands dramatically decreased. And so I've created an online course that's actually set to release later this week that we're recording it. And so I'm excited about that. I would have never had the capability of doing that beforehand. But I think the thing that I'm missing the most is actually not me. It's my children. I feel bad that they don't have the experience of meeting up with their friends every day at school and learning in that classroom setting. I think that there's a lot of great things about learning from home, but I think one of the things that they're missing out on for themselves is that social experience that I think is really valuable for us in the long run in developing a high emotional intelligence. And so I'm kind of an introvert, a homebody. I don't mind it, but I know that my children they've been missing out on their friends. So I kind of hurt for them a little bit.
Absolutely. So tell me about your online product, the digital course. What does it look like, and what can people gain from doing it?
Yeah, so it's called the High Octane Mindsets, and I think it's the most comprehensive and the deepest course you'll ever find on mindsets. We dive into the latest in psychology and neuroscience, all in an effort to help individuals transform their lives. Yeah. So what I've even learned in my own life journey is I think we all get there at some point in time, but we have a tendency to get stuck in a rut. And when we get stuck, these are the times where we've got the pedal to the metal, but yet we don't feel like we're going anywhere. We're just busting our butt off and not getting anywhere. We're not getting closer to our goals, closer to our dreams. And so the whole course is designed to help individuals get out of the rut, to soup up themselves, increase their capacity to reach their dreams. And what I've learned in kind of the process of working with people is it's less about getting your foot on the gas. It's more about taking your foot off the brake. And that's usually a mindset related issue. And so it's a really deep dive into helping people discover themselves at a deeper level than they've ever had. And by doing so, we're empowering them to lay a better foundation to be able to reach their goals.
Okay, so high octane mindsets, and released very soon.
Very soon, yep.
So you're reading Simon Sinek at the moment. Who else influences you?
Oh man, so many. Let me share some of them. I'm looking over my bookshelf. So in terms of mindset stuff, I've written my book, Success Mindsets, which fortunate we hit the USA Today and Wall Street Journal bestseller list. And it's only been out a month, so we're excited about the traction there. But a lot of the thoughts in my book are based upon other people's ideas. So Carol Dweck has a great book on mindsets called Mindsets. I love Ray Dalio's book called Principles, which is all about having an open mindset. He talks about radical open-mindedness. I love Ed Catmull's book, Creativity Inc. So Ed Catmull's the founder of Pixar Animation and president of Disney Animation. And I think it's the best business book I've ever read. And it's all about how do you create a culture of innovation and creativity. If you want a book that will transform your life, there's a book called Bonds That Make Us Free. It's written by Terry Warner. And there's probably no ever time in the history of our world that we maybe need it more. And it's all about seeing people as people and to value them as such. Wow. Excellent. Well, thanks for that. So is there anything that I haven't asked you that I should have asked you? Oh man. I could talk all day about this stuff, but I think we've covered it really well. And I hope that the listeners, what they take from this is there's an element about ourselves that most of us aren't conscious of. And that's our mindsets. And this element is actually driving 90% of how we think, feel, judge, and act. And so if we can become conscious of what has historically been non-conscious, then we can empower ourselves for greater success. And so hopefully the things we've talked to allows people to at least start that journey. Absolutely. I'm going to go take your mindset assessment online and see where I sit. I'm quite intrigued by that now. I'm curious. So because I know, like everyone, we've got challenges in the way we think about things, and some things I'm really positive about, while other things I'll go sit in a corner somewhere and just hope it all goes away. So it's I'm really excited to be doing that. So how can people connect with you, Ryan? Yeah, the best place is my website, ryangottfredson.com. So that's where you'll find the free mindset assessment, and it's right there, easy to find. Also, if you go through my website to buy my book, I have a bunch of freebies. So for example, if you buy the print version, I'll give you the audio version for free. Also, there's access to the ebook as well as the audiobook there, and also a free webinar. So that's the best place. Second best place is LinkedIn. So I'd love to connect with anybody there. Excellent. No worries. Ryan, it's been an absolute pleasure having you. I've learned so much just in this conversation, and I'm sure my listeners have as well. Thank you very much for your time, and enjoy the rest of your day. Yeah, thank you so much, and thanks for trusting me to be put in front of your audience.
Join the group of people impacted by seriously simple stuff to get you unstuck. The first book by Tony Coach Curl. Available at Amazon, Tony's Simple Stuff provides the tool for people to master your life and aspirations. 20% of every book sold supports Carter's cause.
Now, that was a pretty cool conversation, if I must say so myself. Ryan brought so much to the table, and he's obviously done a lot of research in and around the concept around success mindsets. And I just wanted to highlight and just summarize some of the things that I took away. Now, I've actually now done the free mindset assessment that Ryan offers on his website. And the way that it works is really quite simple. It is really a very quick and easy assessment to do. And so many people I know shy away from doing assessments, but this one is quite comprehensive when you get the report. You get a placing, I guess, a rating of where you are on a Likert scale when it comes to each and every one of the mindsets. So we're in the report, you'll see where you sit in terms of fixed and growth mindsets. You will see where you sit in relation to closed and open mindsets. You will get a rating on where you sit between prevention and promotion mindsets. And then the final one is the inward and outward mindset, where you currently sit. So it's a fascinating insight into your own mindsets, and it really will drive and help you benefit. So the link is in the show notes around where you can get that free mindset assessment that Ryan offers. As I said, really quick and simple to do, and then quite a comprehensive understanding in and around the 4 mindsets. So just doing that free assessment will help you in so many ways. I just wanted to go back and just reiterate some of the things that Ryan spoke about. So he spoke about the 4 questions that he asked in relation with some of the mindsets. So the question number 1 is identifying something that you want to do. Question number 2, analyze ultimately what's preventing you from achieving your goals. Question number 3 is ask yourself, why am I doing these things? And number 4 is about what mindset is causing this. So a very systematic process to work through as to why people, maybe yourself aren't getting the goals or getting the rewards or getting the success that you ultimately believe that you may deserve. To go through and work through those 4 questions in relationship to the free mindset assessment will really give you some great insight. I really like there's a couple of concepts that I really just loved. I loved the turtle concept. When COVID hit, there was a lot of businesses that I knew that just bunkered down. And what I see now coming out of it and into recovery is those businesses are behind the 8 ball. And, the ones that were looking for that opportunity, taking this time to reskill and reset, I think are well ahead of the curve in relation to those other businesses that, in the words of the Australian government, hibernated or chose to withdraw from life, I love the analogy of the foot on the brake and the foot on the accelerator, because I see that so many people are working really, really hard to achieve what it is that they want to achieve, but the thing that's holding back is sitting there within themselves usually, and that's the foot on the brake. And as part of a good coaching experience, it's not about getting you going forward, it's about also understanding and putting together a strategy to get that foot off the brake. And I just really loved that whole concept, foot on the accelerator at the same time you've got the foot on the brake, and that really doesn't work for too many people. The prevention mindset and the way that it was described from myself in and around some of the corporate leadership teams that I worked within. And Ryan explained how that was a prevention mindset, how we were, ultimately working not to lose, as opposed to setting out to win. And as he explained, all that does is incentivize mediocre performance. And once again, that's a really good, clear concept that, I brought some newfound awareness to myself. So, and the final comment, the case study in and around Microsoft that Ryan shared, he didn't want a team of know-it-alls, he wanted a team of learn-it-alls. And I just think, You know, if we had a world, especially with what's going on around the world right now, if we had a team of learn-it-alls as opposed to a human race of, you know, potentially know-it-alls, we would be in a much better place. And that concept of learning, growing is one that we can all embrace, no matter where you are currently sitting in your continuum of life. No matter where you are, no matter what circumstances you have around you at the moment, you can continue to learn and grow. And I just think that there's some real valuable stuff that Ryan shared today. So I really do thank Ryan for coming in and investing his time on the Today's Leader, the Coach Call podcast. And once again, as I said, his link is in the show notes, so please avail yourself of Ryan's services. Grab a hold of his book. I've started reading it. It's a fantastic read. So there's some gold in today's episode. And as we know, in today's disruptive world, good leadership skills will always stand you in good stead. And if you are looking to build some leadership skills, check out the Coach Curl Academy. The Coach Curl Academy, we focus on personal, professional, and business growth, and we really work to enhance, you know, our business growth, our leadership growth, and our mindset growth. So you can check that out for just $1 for the first month at thecoachcurlacademy.com. You are standing where you are. You are stronger, braver, and wiser. And as per always, don't ever forget the golden rule. And you know what that is? Just don't be an arsehole. It's Coach Curl signing off. I'll see you next time.